Everybody. Good to see everybody in person, and for all those who are joining us virtually, welcome. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
There you go, James. All right, let's do a roll call here. Commissioner Foster.
Commissioner Foster's here.
Commissioner Stout.
Here.
Commissioner Everett.
Here.
And Commissioner Taylor. Definitely here. Okay, so I hope everybody got a chance to read the minutes from our last meeting. If there are no corrections, deletions, or additions, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion. Second.
Okay. Any unreadiness? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Comments from the public, those joining us virtually. Anybody have any comments, questions, either from our last meeting or anything that's happened since? Okay, I don't think we have any mute problems. Well, that doesn't preclude any questions after later on in the meeting, but okay. So board updates. I don't really have any. Commissioners, do you have any?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so over to the executive director.
Thank you. Brandon? Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. We are going to report out on the police 25 to entry-level academy closeout. So the academy started, the second academy for 2025 started on July 28th. Total conditional offers were 69. Hired was 56. One of the 56 no-showed on the first day. Plus 2 recycled. So the current academy has 50, I can't do my math, 57. And just a breakdown of the demographics right there, as well as the race, ethnicity, and gender for everyone's reference. And then just kind of taking a look at the outcomes from the 69 conditional offers. 3 actually deferred. And then 2 we rescinded because their post-conditional examinations did not yield positive results. And then 6 withdrew. So overall, I think this is in the last 3 years, the largest academy class. And I believe that our partners are very, very happy. So kudos to our team who really worked closely together with our vendors, with our partners, to make this happen.
Great.
Right. Next slide, please. We're also closing out our one and only academy for EMT. If you recall, initially it was scheduled for, Miss Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, it was initially scheduled for May, right? The EMT.
The EMT was scheduled for April.
And then it was postponed for January of next year, and then it got put back on schedule. And because of our team's sort of really diligence and fluidity in our process, we were able to accommodate the need. So 25-1 started on August 18th, 2025. There were a total of 9 conditional offers, 6 were hired, 1 withdrew. We have 2 alternates that were not used, and we actually built a total eligible register list for any 2026 needs the department may have. We have a total of 30 in the list. So these are everyone who passed everything. And so if we get a call from the department in January and say, I know Chief Alton says I'm very optimistic. Just in case we get a call, we would be able to provide the need without further processing. I mean, contingent upon, of course, the 30 individuals still being interested. And then you will see that the race and ethnicity for this group, it's 100% male. We did have 1 female, but she withdrew.
So talk just real quick the background history questionnaire is missing. What does that mean?
That means that the candidates or the applicants did not complete the background history questionnaires. So after taking the NTN test, the entry level test, we invite them to complete a series of questionnaires, all the way from personal to legal, information that helps our background investigators really do a due diligence on their background. And so these folks opted not to complete it.
So it's not the background report that we see.
No.
It's like, how could that be missing?
No, it's a series of questionnaires that they have to answer.
Do we have any sense, two questions, obviously the 100% male is pretty striking to me. Do you have any sense of the disqualifications of the total applicants, the number of females?
I do not have that, but that's something that's easy for us to pull.
I'd just be interested. I mean, obviously, like if we're having a really high, not saying we're lowering standards or anything like that. And then current EMTs, like what's the general, do you have a sense of the general demographic? So breakdown of the gender?
I don't have that, but I would invite if we have anyone from the fire department on the line. But that's something I can take as well.
Thank you.
All right. So overall, like I said, pretty good processing. So congratulations to the team and also thank you to the hard work and the partnerships. All right. Next slide, please. So I'm going to transition this report out over to Ali. She's one of our senior HR data analysts, and she did the analysis, the comparative analysis of the 2 candidate experience surveys that we've collected year to date. So Ali, take it away.
Hi, can everybody hear me okay before I get started?
Yes.
Yes, great. Brandon, could you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so something important to note is that from 25.1 and 25.2, we did have changes to the survey. And so we changed some of the wording of our questions, but for the most part, the content remained the same. The biggest change was in our response format, and we will take a look up on the next slide. We have this. If you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, here you can see a side-by-side comparison of the surveys. The text is a bit small, but the goal is just to give you a visual sense of the changes. The main thing to note here, we have 2 things. In the 25.1 survey, you can see there were several yes or no response options to questions, whereas in the updated survey, there was a consistent 5-point response scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree, with the addition of a not applicable option. And then second, instead of asking candidates we always ask candidates in both surveys which steps of the hiring process they would like to see improved. In the 25.1 survey, they were asked to rank the order of steps, but here we have them choose the top 2 so we can focus on our priorities. And then we also gave an option for them to check that they were reasonably satisfied with all aspects of the hiring process. Other than that, it's remained pretty consistent. Next slide, please. Okay. So first we have our 25.1 police survey results. Next slide, please. So we had 56 people complete this survey. 52 of those candidates applied to an entry-level position and 4 were lateral applicants. Next slide, please. Candidates were asked if they believed the informational materials on our website help them understand the hiring process, and 80% of the people said yes to this question, which is great. Next slide, please. All right, 89% of survey respondents were satisfied with our communications throughout the hiring process. And to calculate this statistic, we found the percentage of people who responded very satisfied or somewhat satisfied with the communication questions. Next slide, please. So again, this was a forced choice with the ranking options, but we asked candidates to rank order the steps in terms of which steps should be improved, meaning that whatever they ranked as their top choice was the step they believed need the most improvement. The top 3 steps were the polygraph, the background investigator interview, and the job suitability assessment. Candidates did have an opportunity to explain in a free response question why they chose each step, and 20% of the people said that they don't see room for improvement in any of the steps. So that's why we changed the 25-2 survey to include an option for candidates to say they were reasonably satisfied with all aspects of the hiring process. Next slide, please.
So Ally, just want to be clear.
Yes.
So the reason they picked those, the three things is, it's not the actual polygraph itself. It's about timing and availability. Yeah, they have to go
Correct.
there to do that. Okay.
Yes, so they
how-
reported some complaints with scheduling takes a long time. But yeah, that was the most common reason for reporting those.
How might we improve that?
So
Yes.
that was one of the bottlenecks that we experienced earlier in this year because of the 3 academies that we were processing, and we were scheduling out, our vendors were scheduling out candidates 6 weeks out at some point around February, right?
Correct.
And so we really worked with our vendors and sort of started closely monitoring how these were turning out. And now we have a calendar. The way we're approaching polygraph scheduling is because we have 4 vendors, we're establishing a calendar, so we're giving more business to those with more capacity, and then really putting at the tail end sort of those with very minimal capacity, so that we give our candidates better experience, but at the same time, we also set our partners, our vendors up for success. So it seems like we are, and obviously the traffic the volume has gone down too.
Right. So we've already tried to address that.
Yes, this was from 25-1, so you're looking at their academy starting in April, so beginning of the year.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gracie. Next, we have 98% of our participants responded yes when asked if they believe the process is fair and without bias. And that means that our hiring decisions are based on a candidate's qualifications and not their personal attributes. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have a goal, a satisfaction goal of 80% or higher, and you can see here that we met or exceeded our goal for each question. And that was measuring informational materials, whether the application process met their expectations in terms of ease and user friendliness, how satisfied they were with our communications, and whether they felt our process was administered fairly. So we're doing great on those. Next slide, please. Does anyone have questions about 25-1 before we move on to 25-2? No? Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so for this survey, we had 58 respondents. 55 people were entry-level, applied for an entry-level position. 3 applied for a lateral police officer position. 50 of our candidates were hired and 8 were disqualified. So that is different from the previous survey. Those were hired candidates. Next slide, please. Okay, so changing to a 5-point response scale allowed us to do some new statistical tests that we couldn't do on the previous survey. So we found the survey has a good reliability with a Cronbach's alpha of 0.82, which means our survey questions are working together and consistently measuring what we set out to measure. So having this reliability at 0.82 means we can feel confident in the data that we gathered. Next slide, please. Okay, so the percentages of applicants that were satisfied with each component that we measured. This was calculated by finding the percent of participants who answered agree or strongly agree to each question. And as you can see here, our communications are helping people understand what's expected of them. We're doing a good job responding to them in a timely manner. The informational materials are useful. Workday is reportedly easy to use. We didn't quite meet our goal in 2 areas. First, people didn't feel we provided frequent updates. And second, people thought it took too long to get through the hiring process. Next slide, please. Okay, so here, the 25-1 survey had only one.
Sorry, Ally.
Yes.
How do we measure that over what period of time? That's that 58%. That's pretty low.
Yes.
But I don't understand what period of, are they just talking about 25-1, or are they talking about?
These are from the 25-2 applicants, but keep in mind, we have a continuous requisition. So we do have folks in 25-2 that may have applied around the same time as 25-1. So because we wanted, what do you call that, versus your 25-1, you're looking at maybe people applying between October of last year until January, and then most of them got transferred to the new continuous rec in January. But then your 25-2, who started in July, most of them probably applied around December and January and then trickled down. So
Lord.
yes, I mean, you're looking at a longer period, but I want to say too that it's, Ali, remind me, the length of time, was it just one question or a combination of a few questions?
One question.
Just one question, and how did we ask it?
It's word for word right on this slide. The amount of time it took to get through the hiring process was reasonable.
Right.
Mhm.
And so we experienced bottlenecks for 25-2 for poly, and then we experienced bottleneck for backgrounds. So these added to the time. And then we also observed sort of a different approach to how the department were making selections, which means whereas before, whenever we endorse names, they just went ahead and made a selection. This time they had an opportunity to really gather the names and make selections out of a pool versus just batch by batch. So there were those components that leads to that longer time frame that we are trying to work out in future. Like how do we, and maybe it's not so much as the length, but it's more on giving them more frequent updates on where they are in the process. Because as a candidate, sometimes it feels longer when you don't hear from anyone, between we endorsed your name to EDOS to when you're finally selected or not selected. Or we've assigned you to a background investigator, but because we had to rearrange some priorities because fire also came in. Then maybe there's an opportunity for us to say, hey, you're still in queue for backgrounds, that type of thing. But we did experience those bottlenecks, and we may not have necessarily provided those updates that our candidates desire.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think it's not anecdotal, I think it's factual. You guys have improved the heck out of the process, right? And so that's good, but that is consistent. There's and this is gonna sound crazy, but the gym that I work at, there's a lot of Denver cops and a lot of firefighters there, different firefighters. And so when I talk to them, those two areas where you see red are the area that I get beat up on all the time, right?
Correct, and we're still at, the last time I reported to you guys, we're still averaging at about 125 days. From app to, from app to conditional offer. So there's definitely still room. But so that is still, to your point, factual. I mean, 125 days.
Yeah.
On one hand, it's reasonable because of the lengthy, the many different steps that we take to really hire the quality folks. But on another hand, we also have a challenge in how do we make it feel less lengthy by ensuring that we have frequent communication and not, because I think that we all agree we're not cutting down time just to cut down time. And so implementing those incremental changes, hopefully, I mean, we started out way longer, right?
Yeah.
Now it's 125. So that's probably why you're still seeing that percentage.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the communication piece, like the gentleman that I talked to you about it, I mean, he's a great young kid. He's an EMT at Skyridge. I was like, have you applied for Denver? He goes, as a matter of fact.
Matter of fact, I'm waiting on them to
Right.
tell me where
He
I'm
said
at. Yeah.
he has applied and gone through the process twice now. And for Denver Fire, which I think we're fixing that so that, there's a continual list.
Yes.
And so I told him about that. He said he didn't know. He thought he was gonna, if he didn't make this class, he was gonna have to go through the testing process all over again. And I said, no, that's not the case. But I want to make sure that I'm speaking intelligently.
Correct, and we've sent them, I believe, an email that says you're in the eligible for fire or EMT, right? Like you're in the eligible.
Yeah.
So And then we've also updated our templates to reflect a little bit more the accuracy of the spirit of what we want them to understand where they're at in the process.
Yeah. And I get it's an impatient process. I mean, you can't help but be a nervous wreck through the whole process. The longer it takes, the worse it is. So I get that that's probably exasperating a lot of these, but it's just interesting that that's what I get the hell kicked out of me for when guys come up to me, beat me up. They're like, what are we gonna do to fix this? And I'm like, we're fixing it.
We're working on it.
And
So,
and it's funny, 'cause, you know, the anecdote you just shared, this word for word conversation that I hope I did well as well, like that had the same frustration.
right.
And that young man applied for fire as well, had applied, got through multiple times as well, and had the same thing. I would just note that it's interesting. So there's 58 responses. 50 of the 58 candidates were hired. And so, and I know it's always hard to like get surveys to folks that don't want to do surveys and things like that. But we're not talking about people that withdrew because they got another job, if I understand,
Correct.
right? So like, I would imagine, or other situations, right? I would imagine actually, unfortunately, that number actually would be lower if it was like a true universal sample. And a lot of people just don't get the job and are unhappy because those reasons, right? But I do think that, we're making progress towards it, but also that doesn't make someone put that they're make it's reasonable. I would love for future surveys to dig into this question a little more. Maybe like there's probably at least 2 questions that I think could get to the heart of this that I think would be helpful, especially if it's an area like, you don't want to focus on the one negative one really, right? Because even 71%, that's not far from there. I know you guys are doing great stuff on that. I just think that this is going to be a battle for many, many years or making progress on it. But I do think that diving a little deeper into that and having some better data set that has the understanding of why people are unsatisfied, I think would be really helpful.
And I think that's the beauty of us really doing a good analysis and having surveys and allowing our surveys to evolve over time to really answer those tough questions. And, Ali and I, when we were kind of like talking about the survey, like that's exactly what we want to know. We want to know how people feel because that's the intent of it, right? I mean, I really would like everyone to say great, but that's not the real world. And so for people to tell us the truth, to take time to tell us the truth, I think is a win in and of itself. But I do want to highlight, not reflected in this slide, but I think I've shared via email, the numerous wonderful comments that the candidates had just for our staff and even for our partners. So I think that, there's always 2 sides to the story, but I think this is wonderful. This is something we can leverage well as we move forward because we don't want to waste our time improving processes that people might find satisfactory or excellent and really focus on things that they want us to.
Yeah, 100%.
Great.
Last question, sorry. Last question for this part. Not planning any more questions, I should say.
Ask as many.
I'd be very curious. I don't expect there's anything here, but of those 58 respondents, I'd be curious if there's a demographic breakdown of that and how it compares to the overall applicant pool. So like, look, if we're only getting the whiteys to respond to this, we're getting getting them to respond, right? We're getting a perception that's very limited. And also on top of that, I'd be curious, for instance, let's say not just race or ethnicity, but also like, let's say that there's a significant gap in gender between the responses to what the thought is on the reasonableness of the hiring process time. I don't expect that there will be something like that. I would just be curious if there is something like that.
Maybe, no, there's not because we kind of like swear on sort of the anonymity of it. But maybe in future surveys, we can consider optional responses if they want to identify themselves.
Good.
When they communicate with you guys, is it primarily through email and off of a PC, or is there a mobile app that we can push stuff to candidates? Am I dreaming?
Yes, you're dreaming. I mean, they can use Workday app if they have it, right? Like we don't do mobile.
We used to send out blasts. Do you remember what that the name of that was.
Oh, that tag, the blast.
Yeah, we would text blast certain things to individuals because we know everyone's on their phone, so at least they
Yeah.
can receive that information, but I don't think there's really like a Workday app that they can access, so it's all through email for the most part.
And folks seem to be fairly happy with, I know there's a lot of opinions about Workday, but well, that's a universal platform, right? I think people understand at some level strengths and weaknesses. And also it does seem like it's an application that people seem okay with.
I know we gotta move along. I just want to ask one more question. Is it possible for people to check the progress of the application through our website or not?
They can check it through Workday at the moment, but
They
it's
can.
not accurate because for the most part, what it will say is like, application under review. So it doesn't tell them what step they're taking, it's just saying they're
We're
still
looking at.
looking at it.
And
It's
that's
still
what's
active.
frustrating as anything.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
My dream is a pizza tracker type of like
Yeah.
dashboard, but I was told my dream isn't possible yet
Okay.
on Workday.
We tried.
We tried.
All right. Well, anything? Continue.
All right, Ally.
You guys
Okay.
are really good at answering every question. I'm very impressed.
Okay, so this one gets a little statistical, so I'm gonna take a minute. So the 25-1 survey only had one question that asked if candidates were satisfied with communication overall. And so we had 3 different questions. So to easily compare overall communication satisfaction between the 2 academies, we made something called a subscale, which is a smaller part of the survey that tells us how people feel about a specific area rather than looking at the survey overall, which measures multiple things. And so the 25-2 survey had questions asking about the frequency of updates, the timeliness of our responses to candidate emails or phone calls, and the clarity of communication, which in this case refers to how well our emails and calls help candidates understand the hiring process. So to come up with the subscale, we ran a factor analysis, which is a test that shows whether certain questions are measuring the same thing. Because we wanted to make sure all of the communication questions actually measure communication. The results of the factor analysis showed questions were all assessing the same constructs, so that gave us permission to calculate this overall communication score, which is done by finding the average satisfaction score across all communication questions. So that means 79% of people express satisfaction with the frequency, clarity, and timeliness of our communication all taken together. So we're doing well on almost every aspect when you look at each question individually. But when you take into account all 3 aspects of communication at once, we're just 1% under our goal in 25-2. So in 25-2, 79% of participants were satisfied with communication overall, but that was decreased 10% from 25-1 to 25-2. But that said, we are meeting our communication satisfaction goal for the year with a year-to-date satisfaction percentage of 84%. Anyone have questions about that before I move on?
Yeah, I'm sorry I messed up. I sent a note to Gracie saying it's in the 10% transfixed. Part of the reason that, and I think you guys addressed this already, part of the reason why the satisfaction would be higher for 25-1 is it was a shorter amount of time from when they applied to when they found out, as opposed to 25-2 that may have been in there since October, right?
No,
So-
this is just on communication.
No, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
they still have been in the process longer. So hopefully those numbers will get better. Thank you for explaining that. Appreciate it.
Of course. We can move to the next slide. So 82% of participants said that the informational materials helped them understand expectations of the hiring process. And we revamped our informational materials in May, so it's great that we saw an increase in this score. And it's up 2% from 25-1 to 25-2. Next slide, please. 86% of respondents said Workday was easy to navigate, so perceptions of the ease of use of Workday, the application system, decreased 3% from 25-1 to 25-2. Next slide, please. Okay, so I wanted to check and make sure all aspects of the hiring process that we were measuring are actually related to overall satisfaction. And so you can see almost all aspects of the survey are significantly related to overall satisfaction, with the one exception being that how far along an applicant makes it in the process doesn't impact satisfaction, which means our disqualified candidates were just as satisfied with our process as the candidates who were hired, which is what we want to see. Keep in mind, we only had 8 disqualified candidates this time. Next slide, please. Okay, so the last part of the survey asked participants to select up to 2 steps that they think need improvement. Almost half of the survey respondents said they were reasonably satisfied with all steps of the hiring process. Other than that, we can see people voted to improve the physical medical evaluation, the background investigation interview, and the NTN written test. Next slide, please.
Is there specific issues that they're bringing up relative to the interview process, or are they just generally speaking about?
There were specific follow-ups. I don't have that on me right now, but I can get back to you with that information for sure.
Very specific comments, and so they will sort of be addressed individually.
Perfect. That's, yeah. Okay,
They were very transparent.
good.
So some recommendations, depending on our data at the end of 2025, I think we can add more questions targeted at the process rather than just focusing so much on communication, which ties into my second point. So the factor analysis showed that we have more communication related questions than we originally intended, which is like the informational materials fell onto that factor. So that was interesting, but I think we should run another factor analysis when we get more responses to determine if any communication questions can be dropped, to leave more room for other types of questions and reduce redundancy. So the fairness and bias question was removed from the survey because we wanted to focus on measuring the processes that we've been working on this year, such as increasing communication to candidates and improving our informational materials. And 98% of people responded yes to this question in 25-1. So I feel like we didn't get a lot of meaningful data that could have help us actually improve. And so I think it would be good to, if we bring it back, it's an important piece of data. We should rephrase the question maybe a little bit more to get more insight on that. As far as process improvements, we will continue to address the timeliness and efficiency of our hiring process. There's significant room for improvement there. Next, we're taking action to standardize the background investigation process. In both 25-1 and 25-2, candidates reported there's room for improvement. So we're going to continue to address concerns. And finally, we're going to continue to monitor NTN results. We aren't planning any major changes, but this is an area where candidates in both 25-1 and 25-2 frequently reported some dissatisfaction. So we're going to continue to monitor that data and work with NTN. Anyone have questions?
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. Is there any way that we can let the candidate know how long the time frame is, or is that already on the website or anything, just to manage expectations?
We actually have a table now that whenever people ask, we haven't posted it yet on the website, only because as we're still actively working on process improvements, that kind of still is a moving update. But whenever I know that Brendan has saved the screenshot, the one that I reported to you guys that has 125 days and the days in between the process. So as needed by our partners and by the candidates, when they ask, we give it to them.
Thank you.
Great.
And I think that is the end of the director's report today. Thank you all.
No. Good data. Thank you very much. All right. Tammy,
Hi,
over to you.
thank you. This is just a quick update on promotional, that the assessment center will be September 15th through the 23rd. And that there are currently 72 candidates, scheduled to participate in the assessment center. And that is it for promotional for now.
Okay,
I do want to encourage the commissioners, if you happen to be in or around the web building between the 15th and the 19th, you're welcome to come and observe or come say hi as we conduct the assessment center.
okay, Stephanie.
Hello. So just an update for the entry-level firefighter process. We are wrapping up this process. Currently, we have one individual that is still in background investigation. We have 18 that are in commissioner deliberative review, and we have 93 that are on the eligible register. So a total of 112 active. As far as post-conditional, 24 applicants have been selected for the academy, as well as we did have 5 alternates selected. We did have an individual that was removed from the process. So we currently have 4 alternates.
Okay.
So we have 12 recruits that are in conditional offer, and then we have 12 that have already accepted their final offer.
How did you get removed? What do we have to do?
This individual was unresponsive.
Okay.
We kept reaching out to him.
Okay.
He would not reach back out to us, to the
Yeah.
vendors. He would not schedule anything. So
Gotcha.
after several attempts,
Yeah,
Chief Fulton was like, I think we need to remove him.
You can get also removed if your medical results don't come out right.
Yes, that,
You got to.
being belligerent or whatever, yeah.
that.
Hopefully not. So I know we do have some candidates, listening right now. I just kind of want to make sure that everybody understands 25-1 is filled, but we continue to process everybody's application because our intent is also to build the eligible register for 2026,
Gotcha.
if the need arises.
Okay. All right, now it's time for the votes, right? Thank you, guys. Hey. Chantel, are you on?
Yes. All right, you heard the dialing.
No.
No, but she knows. Okay, just want to make sure Commissioner Taylor's not on the line. Okay, Commissioner Everett is, so.
Yeah, I'm not.
All right, we're ready.
Okay, so we will move on to the commission review of candidates, and we will take votes in order as listed on the sheet here in front of us. So that will go as Commissioner Moore, then Commissioner Foster, Commissioner Everett, and Commissioner Stout. We will begin with candidate number 369904.
No.
No,
No.
No,
Candidate 327486.
No.
no,
No.
no,
Candidate 245296.
No.
no,
No.
no,
Candidate 363973.
No.
no,
No.
no,
Candidate 142669.
No.
no,
No.
no,
Candidate 255005.
No.
no,
No.
no,
Candidate 163480.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Candidate 331995.
Yes.
yes,
No.
yes,
Candidate 344274.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Candidate 315072.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Candidate 343710.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Candidate 343570.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Candidate 309710.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Candidate 312808.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Candidate 1892030.
Yes.
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 Candidate 189113.
Yes.
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 Candidate 170376.
Yes.
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 Candidate 277223.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Candidate 40381.
Yes.
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 Candidate 116260.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Candidate 109432.
Yes.
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 Candidate 208978.
Yes.
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 Candidate 360433.
Yes.
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 Candidate 104451.
No.
Yes.
No.
No.
What is our commission do? I think that's that.
Great. Who's that? You. Okay. All right, before we adjourn the meeting, last round for comments, anybody, who's joining us virtually, any comments or questions? Okay, any further comments from the commissioners? Okay, now entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
We're out of here. Thank you all.